This is going to be the updated version of the solo game for Mech Showdown. Just saving time from the previous video, you'll see I just saved the gunner, shuffled everything else back up here into my deck. I'll end up with 3 cards. That's your normal setup. Okay. Now, if you're just dipping a toe, I would take only 1 unit to try against. You can see here that the hammer and anvil are a partner, so they'll run as 2 cards, and we'll cover them in a second. Let's do something simple like the hunter unit. So, this one's only going to need 2 counters. One right here for its health, and simple one to track how things go. Set these rest off to the side. Alright, so how this is going to work, you go off initiative. Their initiative here is first, mine is first. However, in a case of a tie, the unit got the drop on you, so they're going to go first. During their turn, first thing they do is going to take the top card of the discard stack and discard it. If you are completely out of cards, you would shuffle and do that. That's basically just to keep cards cycling. It doesn't have any real balancing effect. It's mostly just to keep cards cycling so you don't get this stale game. So from here, they did all that. Now, they're going to then move, take their turn and then move the counter down. So they're taking their turn. This doesn't do anything, moves the counter down. They'll come back to that on the next run. Comes to me. I'm going to go. So it comes to me. I'm going to have this here. I have my handful of stuff. And I'm just going to see if I can start really slamming them down early. So I'm going to play +2 attack, must use before firing. You'll notice the same opening play. And then I'm going to fire the Gauss. They're simply going to roll. They have no defenses or anything like that. They simply roll. There's no way for them to beat a 7, but we do it anyway. Okay, they didn't. They take 3 damage. 1, 2, 3. Easy. Okay. That's the end of my turn. I use my 2 actions. Go over to their turn. First part, discard a card. They're going to resolve this. So this is where the hunter unit gets kind of a little fun. It's going to fire a 5 ballistic attack on you. Okay. I'm defending. I defended with the 6. Awesome. The way this card reads, there we go. If I defend it, it goes right back to A immediately. So it went from here, goes right back to here. It just means that next turn, it's going to get ready to shoot at me again. This one isn't going to close in unless it hits you. However, if it did hit me, let's bring this one up. Thank you, focus. So it was here. If it does hit you, it would immediately run down and fire a missile attack on you. So it's kind of one of those, they hit you once, come down real quick, fire at you a second time. And then the turn after that would go here. This just tells you that once you're here, you cycle back up. The targeting here is actually for a fun section that all of these have some sort of, let me show you. They have some sort of thing that says, here's who they're attacking with. They generally just choose, whether it's the highest or lowest. This one kind of gets a little chaotic, but they're supposed to be. SV is structure value. That's basically your health points. Now, the reason that happens is that if you want a crazier game, if you want to just really get into it, you can have multiple automated opponents, but you can also, just like in some video games, you can have an ally that simply does automated stuff. So I can have a guy here, he has who he's going to target, he has his own health, and he has a program for what he's going to do. The only difference is you cannot play any of your tactics cards from your hand on this guy. They basically are going to operate underneath their own programming. That's what this is. They're going to operate underneath their programming, and you can go back and forth. That's just if you want a wider game. Now, when you have something this wide, this is why this would come up, and you'll see stuff about the initiative and everything else. So I have a 3rd initiative, a 4th initiative, and a 1st. So they're going to go at first. They will go. And it comes over to here. They'll go here, here, jump over. Then we will go 3rd, they'll finish up, then 4th, and then we cycle all the way back around. So there's going to be many times where this team, this specific team obviously, you'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and run right back over to here. So you actually have this turn where all these are firing on you. That sort of chaos sometimes was indicative of certain games. If you just just ran in and all of a sudden there was a squad, actually a lance or a star just waiting to pounce on you. This just gives you more options. These are not perfect, but they definitely should give you a good challenge. The one I want to at least address, the Crazed Aggressor. This one is the one I always refer to as sort of as a co-op, because you see up there where it says it's going to roll 3d6. So you would take your 3d6 when it's their turn, roll them. Okay, so we have a 3, a 5, and a 6. Basically, they're going to take a 3 action, a 5 action, and a 6 action. Now, let's assume that we hit the same thing 3 times. They're just going to take that action, that action, that action. Because they're separate instances, if this one happened to knock, if there were 2 units, he's attacking your highest one, and then he gets lower, it's then going to switch over to here. They stick to their targeting, but they're treated as separate instances, separate actions. Obviously, the fun part is if you start getting that +2 defense against all attacks, once you start getting that to stack up, dodge the first attack from each unit. Obviously, if that stacks up, it's not as bad, but that bonus there is going to, stack up. It's meant to serve as a wild card. What you're going to notice is that these are different kinds of programs. If you're used to solo or whatnot, this effectively is a flow chart. If it has an if-then statement and it cycles. This is more chaotic. It's dice-based. Get you autofocus, there we go. It's dice-based, so this one's much harder to predict what it's going to do, but at the same time, it's got a lot of powerful options. It's really going to make you work for it. That's why the structure value is a little bit lower. You have a duo, and the hammer has an ammunition track. It is also going to run if you get it low enough. It has a built-in cycling program. This one has a heat meter, so that it's simply going to fire, rise up the heat meter. It'll cool down a little, it'll just keep cycling. It's got its own programming, and it even has the defense if the armor's not going to go. So there's 2 ways this really goes. You can take out the hammer and let the anvil knock you down, or you can hit on him and the hammer's going to get a couple free shots first. That's kind of fun on its own. The fireball pack is simply, it runs through its program, but it does more attacks based off the units. So it just gives you different ways to kind of play the game. It gives you different partner options. If you have both sets, you get a lot more options to play. It mostly is just to get you to experiment and see what the game has. Hopefully that helps, and let me know if you have any questions below.